Yes, Intercontinental Sports TV. It is what it is. This is how we know. This is how we do it. Talking about inside out. About this club. FC. That's Chelsea FC. Blues for life. The pride of London. That's what I'm talking about. The Brovs here with me. Hardest thinking. Love Chelsea to the court, to the goal, to the left, to the blood. When you are talking about this club, you remember this guy, DJ Drogba. Terry, Ashiko, hardest people, legends of that club. And this was, oh my goodness, welcome this man. Rob, talk to me. Are you ready? What's going on?
Yo.
Chelsea for life.
Inside out Chelsea FC, Chelsea for life. Welcome. It's all about Chelsea today. Chelsea inside out, the best, biggest team in London. No doubt about it. So let's dive into it.
All right, bro, you're welcome. We actually want to talk about Chelsea today. Where are we starting from, bro? Where can we start from?
I mean,
yeah.
Where can we start from? We're just, the Blues. It's Chelsea. Chelsea has always been a big team. Even before the emergence of Roman Abramovich, a lot of people think that is when Chelsea's history started. But I tell you, that is not when Chelsea's history started, because Chelsea they've been having successes in Europe even before Roman Abramovich came. Chelsea are the first team to win, 3 European cups. They won the Cup Winners' Cup, UEFA Cup Winners' Cup, as well. They won it twice. That's even before the Champions League came. So they've actually been a juggernaut. They've been having recent They've been an average successful team, in history. But not until when Roman Abramovich came. That was when the major success story of Chelsea started to pan out, started to come out, with the Premier Leagues, the Cups, the Champions Leagues, and, the sustained success, that everybody now can, everybody talks about today. So, yeah, Chelsea, a very, very big team. They've always been a big team. One of the biggest teams in England, yeah.
All right, bro. Chelsea, we have to talk about, this is where I know much about Chelsea, starting from the era of this great man, this fabulous man, this man.
Roman
Abramovich, the era. Please, can you shed more light about this man coming to Chelsea, to buy Chelsea all of a sudden, from nowhere?
I mean, that time, that was the period I actually joined Chelsea, 2004-5 season, and Abramovich, Russian billionaire, oil money, was young at the time, came into England, and then took over Chelsea, and led Chelsea to serious an era of serious financial stability, because at the time before he came, Chelsea were owing lots of debts, and so he came, cleared the old debts. I think he purchased the club for about $300 million, if I'm not mistaken, at the time, came in, and then also similar to what the new owner is doing, bought a lot of players at the time, and then obviously the main puzzle, the last piece to the puzzle was the European champion at the time, Jose Mourinho. That was who he now went on to get from Porto into the team to come and lead these players to their first Premier League title. So Chelsea's not their first Premier League team. We can see their first Premier League title, but they're not their first title, because they had won one league before them. So that was the second title, or the first Premier League title in about 50 years before the club won that first Premier League title. And thanks to the Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich and the money and the quality that he brought into the club, the training ground, the staff, and everything that he did. Yes, the stadium, a lot of work that went behind the scenes, for Chelsea to finally get to that point of winning their first Premier League at 2004, 2005. So you cannot write Chelsea's history behind the incoming of Roman Abramovich.
Yeah, in that era, this guy, as you said, just came in, and tell us a little bit back then, when he came in.
Yeah,
the fans were looking like, what was this guy bringing on? I mean, and all of a sudden, he started buying some huge players. I remember he
huge
bought
players.
Shevchenko, Andriy Shevchenko.
Yes.
Tell us more
He brought a
about.
lot of players. He brought a lot of players in Chelsea at the time. I remember. I think he brought Frank Lampard.
He was ruthless.
He
He was ruthless in his signings.
He was ruthless.
Very ruthless.
Yes, he was. He was, and he brought a lot of players. He brought Frank Lampard. He brought Ricardo Cavallo.
John Mikel Obi.
At the time.
John Mikel Obi
was
about to go to Man U.
Obi was not there. Obi was not even there in the first spell. Yes, Obi came later on, but he bought likes of Claude Makelele, Thiago at that time, Frank Lampard, likes of Robin, Damien Duff, and people like that, Joe Cole. So it was a mass flux of influx of cash at the time, but it was well spent. It was money well spent with quality of players who were not. Some of them were not renowned names. They were just emerging. For instance, nobody really knew about Tiki Drogba at the time. It was I watched the interview. Jose Mourinho said Roman Abramovich was asking who is Drogba, and Mourinho just told him, "Look, just let's go and get him. Don't ask questions. Just let's go and get him." I think he came from Marseille at the time, and he didn't hit the ground running. It took a while before he also started to score a lot of goals. So it was a period where, look, it was an exciting period for Chelsea fans. I was a little bit very, still quite young at the time. I just only joined Chelsea. I just started to watch a lot of football at the time, but I could remember that it was a period where Chelsea fans were, because something like that has never happened before. Arsenal and United were dominating the Premier League at the time. It was either Man U or Arsenal. So everybody was like, "Who is this man that has come to disrupt, the flow?" And disrupt. He did that really with the quality of signings and the way the club was run. And it was. We all know how that eventually panned out.
Yeah, and also when you are let's look at some of the highlights we have here. Do you want to mention how Chelsea came to disrupt the dominance of Man U? And
yes,
Arsenal?
I mean,
can you throw more light into how?
Before then, I think the season 2003-4, I think Man United won. Arsenal won the title. That was Invincibles. If I'm not mistaken, the Invincibles was, I think, was 2003, 2004. So, obviously, Jose Mourinho, young manager coming in, he had all the work to do. He had a lot to do to break that dominance of the two big English giants, Arsenal and Man United. And how did he go about it? It was a dogged team that he built there. The team that went on to win the Premier League by equaling the most records at the time. Man United were holding the most record in the 87-88 season. They had 95 points, but Jose Mourinho came and having lost just one game and considered us 15 goals, least ever in the history of the Premier League. With he had players who were very, very rigid and very stingy in giving the ball away. We all know the famous Claude Makelele and how that role, the number 6 role, some people call it number 4 role, became the Claude Makelele role. And with John Terry, Ricardo Cavallo, William Gallas, Jeremy, Paulo Ferreira, Thiago, Frank Lampard, Robin, Joe Cole, and Didier Drogba. He built this team around this 4-3-3 formation, Jose Mourinho at the time. And this team will go on sometimes to just score a goal. One goal was always enough at the time, and that's what Chelsea cannot get at there. You can hardly even they don't concede chances, talk more
At
of conceding
all.
goals. So it was a very, yes, it was a very, I mean, the famous Stamford Bridge record, Jose Mourinho went almost over. We have the highest, we have the highest number of records for not losing in a home game, and the longest number of clean sheet streaks under Jose Mourinho. You would not score in Stamford Bridge. You never lost a game there, So that was how Mourinho came to disrupt the dominance. It was a young manager, was very, very confident of himself. He had just won the European Championship with Porto, like I said, and he came and announced himself as a special one. Full of, some people felt it was arrogance, but he showed a lot of belief in his abilities, and took that Chelsea team to their first Premier League title in 50 years, which was a wonderful, wonderful day at Bolton Reebok Stadium when Frank Lampard went on to score, and Chelsea won the game 2-0, and we finally announced champions. So it was a fun memory. It was one I can still remember. The final day of that season when Chelsea snatched when Chelsea won the first Premier League. I can still remember that it was a beautiful, beautiful day. All over the world, Chelsea fans were really, really excited about it. Yeah, so you can't that first Premier League. It was a joint effort. It was a real joint effort between Chelsea, between Jose Mourinho, between the players, and obviously the backroom staff, and the work that was done by Roman Abramovich as well.
Yes. Also, you mentioned about the Premier League. Can you also talk about the first Champions League under? I mean, Chelsea winning the Champions
I
League.
mean,
That's what you
before
used to brag about Arsenal.
yeah, just before we go into that the first Champions League, before then, with Mourinho, we have to be is worthy of note that we went on to win a back-to-back Premier League. The second Premier League was won directly after 2006, 2007 with 91 points. So that I think that sent shock waves, and that really made people understand that Chelsea were actually here for the stay. If we win it the first time, some people might think it was a fluke, but with the fact that Jose Mourinho won it back to back, he has started he sent a message to the world that Chelsea are back to become one of the big boys. Yes, exactly, and those who are going to challenge for the top trophies, and so it was. But then he fell out with Roman in 2005, 2006, and he was sacked, and they were replaced by, I think, Avram Grant, who took over. So just before that time and the Champions League is worthy of note that we have actually changed. We changed a lot of managers. A lot of managers came to the club as well, likes of Avram Grant, Carlo Ancelotti.
Who is that guy that won the Champions League? Is he No.
Yeah, it was Roberto Di Matteo. Roberto Di Matteo. He was the assistant to Andre Villas-Boas at the time. Villas-Boas, who was likened to Jose Mourinho at the time, did wonderful things with Zenit and St. Petersburg, and also with Porto. So we were thinking we're getting the next Mourinho, but it didn't work out. He was a young manager. He came into the club, and things were falling badly. And just as Roman had done for the past, at the time, for 2004 to 2012, that's like 8 years, right? If I'm not mistaken, that's about 8 years. So was constantly sacking managers for 8 years.
Yeah.
And then, he did the same thing with Andre Villas-Boas, who was sacked. Chelsea were performing very poorly in the league table. I think they were like 10th or 12th position. And then they were replaced with Di Matteo. Suddenly, the team started to, I think they found the spirit. They found something inside them.
That Champions League was
the strength. I remember following the games one by one. The Barcelona game, we had won the first leg 1-0, courtesy of the Drogba, and then over to Camp Nou. John Terry took that red card very early in the game, and then Barcelona went on to score 2 goals in quick succession, and they were leading the tie with 2-1. They didn't remember the way goal used to count at the time. Only for Lampard to release Ramirez.
Ramirez.
And yes, and Ramirez was thrown on goal with Victor Valdez. I remember I was in school at the time. I was running, going mental at the time. Ramirez was through one-on-one with Valdez, lift the ball up, and then the score was level. The tie was leveled. It was 2-2 at the time. So Barcelona piling on at the time. Just were leading on goal difference. Barcelona were piling on the pressure to get the winning goal. And there was a clearance. We had made a substitution. Fernando Torres was on the pitch. There was a clearance by Ashley Cole, and Torres was through on goal, one-on-one with Victor Valdez,
1-on-1.
and he took him out and scored the goal that sent us to the Allianz Arena, Bayern Munich Stadium. We were going to play Bayern at their backyard, which was for me, everybody thought it was, an improbable task.
Yes.
It was not possible. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. Yeah.
There was no way a Chelsea side that was performing way below expectation was going to go to the backyard of the German champions. At the time, under your Perkins, they had famous players like world-class players like Frank Ribery, Anya Robben, what's the name of this German in front? Mario Gomez, Super Mario, Bastian Schweinsteiger, Mario Gomez. They had top players, Boateng. So they finished Article 10. So it was improbable that just we are going to do it. But before then, also we have to talk about the last gaps, the nearly the nearly there that Chelsea has had. With I don't know, you remember against Man United, I think 2007 at the
Let's
final.
forget about that one. Okay, yeah. Oh, at the final.
No, at the final, yes,
where Terry slipped. Yeah,
where Terry exactly. So you have to remember that you have to remember that we've been very close to snatching it, to winning it. Also before then, the next, I think the next season we had an episode where Chelsea played Barcelona, a match where Chelsea played Barcelona, and then a lot of officiating, very poor officiating from Obrebo. The Obrebo was the name of the ref. Lots of handballs were not taken. Chelsea were odds on that season to go on and win the title, but they didn't do it. So we've been very close up until that period. So as a typical Chelsea fan at that time, going to the Allianz Arena, there was no way we were going to do it. The odds were against us. Everybody thought it was impossible, and Chelsea started the game. They dogged in, they fought, they kept on fighting. They were lucky. Bayern put on a lot of pressure, and towards the end of the game, around the 84th minute, Thomas Muller came big at the far post and headed them 1-0. And then every Chelsea fan across the world, you could see that we saw it coming. The tie was over. We are down. We're feeling sad, and suddenly, I remember in a Drogba's interview, he said before the game, Juan Mata told him before the match that he had a feeling that Drogba would score in this game. And so, at the 84th minute, when Thomas Muller scored for Bayern against Chelsea with 6 minutes to go, Mata said Drogba looked at him. I was already crying. I was almost crying that I told you that. And Mata said, "Don't worry, just hang in there." And lo and behold, we had a corner kick at the 88th minute. It was good. And guess who took the corner kick? Yes, guess who took the corner kick? It was Mata, who had told Drogba that was the sole score, and Drogba came big on the front post and headed it in, and it was 1-1. Everywhere was crazy. Everybody went berserk. The whole Chelsea fans decided to believe again. And then we went into the second and the extra time. Drogba gave away a penalty, to Bayern Munich, and Robben couldn't score the goal. Peter Cech at the time saved the ball. So then we started to believe that it just might be our day again. That gave us a lot of belief. And then obviously we went to the penalties, and I think Bastian Schweinsteiger lost, and someone else, two Bayern players lost penalties, and Drogba was left to decide the fate of Chelsea's history. And lo and behold, he scored the goal, and Chelsea had their first ever Champions League title at the backyard of the Bayern champions, the German champions, Bayern Munich, and it was a day to never ever forget. No Chelsea fan, I don't think we ever forget that day. We won our first, against all odds, went ahead and won our first title. So it was a tremendous day. It was a wonderful day, memorable day that we can never forget.
Yeah, I'm also looking at the graphics picture in front of us. Uh,
Yeah,
6 Premier League
yeah,
cup, and then two
six titles.
two champ
Yes, we've also
yeah
won
six
a
titles, two
yeah,
Champions League, and 8 FA Cup, five
yeah,
League Cup, two
yes,
Europa. Wow, and
yes,
also
two
two
Europa, two Cup
two
Winners' Cup.
Winners Cup. That's a
Yeah.
very fantastic.
It's
I
very
mean,
fantastic,
honor there.
and
I
even
mean, the
there
cabinet
we
is
don't have
fantastic.
it's fantastic. We don't have the super we don't have the Super Cup. Right, I don't think Super Cup is there. We
No,
won
no.
the
Oh,
and also the
you
club.
want this Super Cup? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yes, yes, and also the World Club Cup. You know, the World Club Cup that we won recently.
Oh, okay. My
So
bad.
we
L
actually.
35. My bad. I didn't put
So
everything there. My bad.
yes, yes, no, no, just to make we have a rich, we're very rich, and then the cup winners. Chelsea are the first team, the only British team, by the way, to have won the Europa League, the Champions League, and the Cup Winners' Cup. So all the three available trophies in Europe since
Europe.
inception. Only Chelsea is the first British team to have won it. I don't think Man United they've won
No,
the
we won
Champions.
Europa. We
You won
won
Europa.
Europa.
Yes, you
Yeah,
won Europa. You won Champions League, but you
Champions League.
haven't won. I don't think you won the cup. The UEFA Cup Winners' Cup at the time.
I will find. I will
Yes,
find
yes,
out
you
from
can find
the
that. You can find that.
for the
On Inside
inside
Out
out
Man United.
Manchester.
That one is
All
for
right,
anybody Man United. So
all
yes,
right,
so we're the first team to have done it exactly.
all right. I want to move on to before I want to actually polish this Chelsea very well. In terms of the takeover from
From Roma.
from Roma to this
Yeah.
our main man right now. In
Yeah.
fact, it's getting toxic right now. The
Mm.
takeover was a little bit funny. Because
It
of
was.
the war. There in
Yes.
there. So I don't want us to go in there.
Yeah.
So now this is a new era. This man called Todd Bowley is
Yeah.
right here. So can you say a little bit about this era right now in Chelsea camp? This guy
Um.
bought. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Just tell
Yeah.
us.
I mean, first off, when Roman left, I was a lot of people were thinking Chelsea were going to go into, um, they call it, what's that word they use for it? I think they thought the government were going to take over Chelsea.
Yeah.
They thought they were going to go out of business, but obviously that wasn't going to happen. And then the club was put up for sale, and a lot of people were interested.
Hmm.
Todd Bowley came out. Todd Bowley came out the favorite, and he got it. He bought the club for 2.5 billion, 2.5 billion pounds. So yeah, ever since he came, look,
Hmm.
he came with a statement of intent. He said a lot of things how he wanted the club to be run. He wanted the club to be run with so much. Uh, he wanted to invest in youth. He wanted to change the stadium. He wanted to make sure he spends money on youth. Yeah, like I said, like you can see on the graphic, a lot of youth players. He wanted transparency in the club. He wanted to be close to the fans as well. And so he came in with all of these promises. And so far so good. It's been a little bit scattered in his approach.
What when you say how do you mean? I mean,
Yeah, when I mean scattered, I
because
mean like
because I want you to compare the era of this boat owner
yeah.
right now.
Yeah, the
Yes.
difference is that that when Roman came and got all these players, he also got a fantastic coach. I think he also got a fantastic coach, and it wasn't a scattered approach. I think it was a well organized approach of signing those players. I think that if you look at players that Chelsea signed at the time, they were players who were well sought after. They were well sought after. They
Oh,
fit
you
in
mean
with
during the time of Roman?
Roma. Yes, they were
Yeah.
players in his first spell, especially Jose Mourinho's first spell. They are players that fit what the manager at the time, Jose Mourinho, wanted to do. But you
Yeah.
look at Todd Bowley now; he is the one making the signings. He's the one going for the sign. Look at for instance, there's a Fernandez signing. There were reports that he flew in there with Baghdad Bali and the co-Chelsea owners to Portugal to go and make the signing himself. So he has been involved. You can call him maybe because he's the first. Maybe it's you can say maybe because he just took over the club is a little bit enthusiastic, a little bit overexcited. He wants to do a lot of things at the same time, but the approach is quite scattered. In the way he has gone about it, I think he needs to take a step. He needs to take a step back, and get the right people involved in the club to make these footballing decisions. He doesn't know a lot about football, and it seems he has been making yes. And if you don't know a lot about football, it seems he has been making these decisions himself, and they are going so far so good. They've not been panning out well. You look at some of the signings that he was in a haste to make. Likes of Raheem Sterling. If you say you want to take the club, I don't think Raheem Sterling was a good signing. If you say you want to take the club forward, somebody who had played in Liverpool and City, and for me was coming to the end of his career. He can't even start in England national team anymore. What was the model? What are the players? Why are we buying these players? What model? You look at the players that Chelsea signed. They signed them because they fit at the time of Roman Abramovich. For Jose Mourinho, he signed them because he knew the style of play, the pattern of play, the formation he wanted to play, the 4-3-3 formation. He knew the players that would fit the puzzle. But when you're talking about this era, you signed these players for Thomas Tuchel. You signed Raheem Sterling, the likes of Koulibaly, Cucurella, players like that. Aubameyang in the first, as soon as he came to the club in the summer, he spent about 300 million, and you sacked the manager. So that for me is a wrong approach. So it showed that it wasn't well thought of. It wasn't well thought of, because you cannot spend money for a manager and sack the manager.
Yeah.
And then the same thing happened. He brought in the former Brighton manager Graham Potter, who for me isn't at the level of Chelsea yet. To handle such a big team. There were reports that the players did not fancy him. They didn't respect him. They didn't welcome his ideas as much as they should, and that has now eaten into the dressing room. If you look at it now, I think those players have been relaxed for about 7 months of Graham Potter's charge, or 6 months that he has been there. It's almost like Graham Potter it's almost like they have not woken up to the challenge. They've not woken up to what this club is all about. If not, when a huge manager, let's say it was a big manager that handled them for 6 months, he would have woken them up. Their mentality would have risen to his own. But it's almost like the reverse was the case. It's almost like the players' mentality, who were champions of Europe 2 years ago, their mentality, their fight, their spirit, almost reduced to the point of the manager in charge of them. So that is where Todd Boehly got it wrong. I think there was no way in the world that Graham Potter should have been hired. I think Graham Potter from Brighton should have worked his way up, from Brighton to probably another bigger team like Aston Villa or Leicester City or Everton or something like that before he comes to Chelsea. He should have proven himself, but he's an unproven manager, and these players are big players. They were never going to listen to him. So for me, that's why I said the approach was cut. I think Todd Boehly doing a lot of things at the same time.
Yes.
Wanting to buy a lot of things, a lot of players, who, without having the head piece. We see what Arteta is doing. We see what Erik Ten Hag is doing. We see what Pep they are doing. You can't buy players without.
But Prof, sorry to cut you now, because I remember something I want to ask. Somebody just sent a message to me that I should ask you: was the between these two great men era, both owners era, can you simply differentiate the two people?
Yeah.
I mean, these two. What this one has and this one doesn't have.
Like I said, Roman Abramovich put the right people in charge first. I think first off, that's what you have to do. He brought in Bruce Buck, brought in what's her name again? Marina Granosovskaya as well, the director of football, and we had people, footballing people, taking footballing decisions, in Chelsea at the time. So more often than not, we got it right. Now, don't get me wrong. There were times when Chelsea finished in a very low position under Roman Abramovich as well. There were times when bad decisions were taken. We signed likes of Andriy Shevchenko. It didn't work out. There are a lot of players that were signed under Roman Abramovich that didn't work out. But the club was well run. We knew how to ship them out. We knew how to bring in new players to balance the books. It's always been a Chelsea thing. Make no mistake about it. This hiring and firing. Todd Boehly came and said he won't follow that approach. But now we can see similarities with Roman. He is also now In the season now, we had 4 different managers at the dugout in Chelsea, so it's almost following that model now. That for me, that's the similarity I see with Roman. But the difference that I see is that he's too involved in what is going on in Chelsea. There are talks about him to the dressing room, players. And we also heard that
you can see the picture. He's also at the training ground.
At the training ground. You know, it's almost visible in everything. I think he thinks this is like it feels like it's a regular organization where where these players are mere employees. No, these are football players. They have to be handled differently. So for me, he's too involved. Look at some of the interviews that he's having. I think they are very ridiculous. I think it's just bringing more banter.
I don't think I've ever heard of Abramovich taking any interview.
No, you don't see Roman Abramovich anyhow.
I don't see Roman.
I think yeah, but when Roman comes in, he comes in when the club is facing crisis. Usually at that time, when you start hearing talks of Roman Abramovich coming to Stamford Bridge, you know their manager is about to be sacked. You know there's a problem in Chelsea, and then the manager is about to be sacked. But now we're seeing a lot of bully here everywhere. I think when you're too available at the time and you're giving these players too much access, it's always a recipe for disaster, because then you're undermining the manager. The players feel like they have access to you. They can come and tell you anything behind the manager. And so you're already causing chaos. I think he has to step. I think for next season, all he needs to do now is go on there and get the.
Are you writing this season is done already? Done?
No. Obviously, yes, this season. I mean, the season is done. The only thing left is just for them to try and show some fight. I mean, at the game yesterday against Madrid, they should fight. To be very fair to the players. They showed a lot of fight in the first half. Even in the second half, they came out. We went for it, but Bully spent all this money but still did not get a striker. That's also on him. Spent about $500 million, but without getting a striker to take the club forward. And now that's come back to haunt him. So in his short stint, he has made a lot of bad decisions, and he's still yet to convince the Chelsea fans that he's the right person to take us forward. He has a lot of convincing to do. Some of the signings he has made, to be honest, he has shown intent. I can't fault him for showing intent. He has shown commitment in trying to get the best young stars out there for us. I can see the commitment, but he has to go about it the right way. He has to make sure that he put in players, he put in a board, he put in a board that is well capable of handling this talent.
That means if you want to look at it now, right now, what kind of coach or which coach are you guys going for?
Yeah, there are talks that
for coach now.
Yes, at this moment in time, he has interviewed Julian Nagelsmann, the former Bayern Munich manager, and there are also talks that I think there was a video interview. I'm not so sure, or maybe a physical interview with Luis Enrique, the former treble winner with Barcelona as well. So hopefully they can come to a resolution with these two managers. I personally
think which coach do you personally will go for?
Yeah, I think Chelsea at this moment in time they need a big manager. I think the age of Julian Nagelsmann will work against him. I think he's a young manager. There's some players in that squad, the likes of Ashley Feta, Koulibaly, Thiago Silva, who are around his age range, and they might not respect him as much. It's the same problem we faced with Manuel Neuer in Bayern Munich. So for me, I think
Enrique.
Yes, I'm saying Enrique. I'm looking at Luis Enrique. I think is for me will be ideal for that club. He plays a fantastic brand of football. I think Chelsea have the tools to play this match, and we also have an owner who's ready to back him. So I think all is needed. I actually think all Chelsea needs now is just to put the right people in the right places, get a good manager, a world-class manager that is well respected. These players can look up to and learn from. I think there's a lot of young players in this team now. They have a lot to learn, to grow up. So you need a huge manager, well respected, to coach them along the way, and hopefully they can bounce back from this really, really shambolic season. It's a disgraceful season that we've had so far, and hopefully with the new manager. Yes, it's really, really terrible.
All right, I want to put quick before we wrap up the show. I want to put you on a spot. There's 2 spots. The first one is, can you name us your best 11 in Chelsea players? The best.
Oh wow, I actually did not see that.
So that they'll come to look for you. Starting from the goalkeeper.
Yeah, from the goalkeeper, no doubt
Yeah.
about it. Every Chelsea fan will tell you it has to be Peter Cech.
Wow. Yeah.
Over how many in one of them? I had over 300 appearances. I can't get the figures out, but lots of clean sheets. One of the most clean sheets in the Premier League history, Peter Cech. He was there when we won everything, all the biggest of trophies. It was right there. When we also set the record for the least number of goals considered, 15 goals. He was the one between the sticks. So Peter Cech has to be the goalkeeper. For me.
Moving on
At
to
the right back.
The right back.
The right back, Branislav Ivanovic.
Whoa.
I think Ivanovic is the
Massive.
best right back Chelsea have. A shout, we could give Bosingwa or Paulo Ferreira a shout, but for me, Ivanovic was very consistent. He was reliable.
Goals,
he was versatile. Scored big goals, like you said, against Napoli. He came to mind the game against Napoli where we had to overturn a 3-1 deficit. He came in and he did his thing. So he was a very, very, very big player for Chelsea. Branislav Ivanovic as right back. The centre pairing.
Yeah, the centre pairing
is quite
I want to hear that aspect. That's what.
Look, why is it a little difficult for me? First off, John Terry is a certain. It has to be. That legend.
I beg. Yeah.
For me, the best Premier League.
I love Terry so much.
Yes. For me, the best Premier League defender in history. Alongside Rio. But look, alongside him, I would have loved to go for Thiago Silva, who has shown nothing but pure class since he's been at that club. Yeah. But I still have to stick with. Also, another shout was Gary Cahill, who was very consistent in 2014-15 season and the 17 season.
You're right.
When we won the title, yes. So and then also Ricardo Carvalho. So I have to choose from three of them. Carvalho won 2 titles. I think I'll go for Ricardo Carvalho. Ricardo Carvalho, yes.
What about the left? On the left side,
Ashley Cole, best left back in Premier League history. Ashley Cole.
All right, into the midfield, the 3 midfielders. Which you name them?
Look, the 3 midfielders. There's no way I will not put.
Can I help you with one? Kante.
Yeah, of course. Who? Ugolo has to be there. Kante has to be there. Kante has to be there, even though he's
massive player.
Massive player. He came in 2016, 2017, and straight away, having won the Premier League with Leicester City in the previous season, came in and won back-to-back trophies. What the player that man is, Kante, he has to be there. But then I also have to put Claude Makelele. I have to put him because a role was named after him.
Makelele or Essien?
I don't. I think I'll go for Claude Makelele.
Chelsea fan will come for you.
Yeah. I go for because look, when a role is named after you,
I'll go for Essien. No, Essien.
Well, look, Claude Makelele was really big at the time. Like I said, that role was named after him, the Claude Makelele role. Nothing gets past Makelele. The reason why we set that record is not just down to John Terry and Carvalho. It's Makelele who was right in front of number 6, who was sitting and destroying everything that was coming. So I can't look past Makelele and N'Golo Kante, and obviously the third person in my midfield will be Frank Lampard. A worthy shout to the likes of Essien, like you said, who was also a fantastic servant and a good player, big team player. Also Michael Ballack as well. But I have to go for and also a big shout out to Cesc Fabregas as well, who came to Chelsea and won a lot of things. But I have to go with N'Golo Kante, Claude Makelele, and Frank Lampard, who is the highest goal scorer in Chelsea's history. We all know about Lampard. There's no need going too much about him. So that's my 3 in midfield.
All right, the front 3.
The front 3, the left side.
Drogba has to be there. Let me help you.
Drogba for the number 9 position. Obviously, Didier, a big game player, Mr. Wembley himself. Arsenal's nemesis.
Anytime,
any day. Obviously, one of the Champions League with that final kick. So Drogba the 9. Left side, Eden Hazard, one of the best players I've ever seen. Eden Hazard has ever worn the Chelsea shirt.
Wow.
It's just a Chelsea legend, Hazard. The right side also is where I have a problem, but I have to go for Gianfranco Zola, who also is a Chelsea legend. Yes. I didn't watch a lot of him, but I read so much, and what he did in Chelsea shirt was just unbelievable. It was so good.
That was the time he carried Chelsea.
He carried Chelsea exactly
every time.
Yes, he did. He did carry Chelsea.
Good free kicks, everything. The guys,
everything. Yes, it was very, very beautiful to watch, and so that's for me is my Premier League, is my Chelsea 11 that I cannot do
All
without.
right.
I can't say that without putting Franco Zola in it. So that's
All right. Thank you so much. If you're watching this, subscribe to the channel. Drop your comment, your best 11 Chelsea player that's ever played for Chelsea. And let's say this, because there's always this question has been trending so many times. The pride of London. Is it Arsenal? Is it Chelsea? Is it what's now?
No, they don't. You can.
All right.
You know who it is. They don't. Just you can help me answer.
Yeah,
No, because look. When the pride of London, you have to have that title, the Champions League. You see that big title? Where's that big title? Look at it there. Look at it. The second one. 2-time Champions League of Europe. 2 times Chelsea conquered the whole Europe. Wow. So you cannot look past Chelsea as even Man United. Man United have 3. That's to show you the tremendous work Chelsea have done. Man United have 3 with all the dominance, and Chelsea have 2 already. So you have to look and say, look, Chelsea, no doubt about it. Arsenal, big club, big team, but Chelsea is the pride of London. The European leagues, Champions Leagues, they've conquered Europe countless times, but Arsenal are yet to do it. So for that reason, I think we have to say Chelsea is number 1 in London. They're the pride.
All right. All right, Prof. It's nice having you. It's been a big time talking about Chelsea, and I hope same time I think it's going to be next month where the league will about to wrap up. We'll be talking about what you should be expecting into the next season. I hope by that time the club should have been able to. Honestly, I think the manager. What are they waiting for?
Honestly,
by now.
This is the criticism I have, but I think by now they should have gotten a manager so that can have time to assess the team and know which players they are keeping, which players they are selling. So Bolly has to act fast. He really has to act fast before the fans start putting on.
All right, bro. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Hope to see you next month.
Pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. Thank you. All right, guys. This is how far we can go tonight. Thank you, Prof. One love anytime. At this moment, so let's subscribe to the channel. The same time next week is going to be Manchester United, inside out about Manchester United. On that note, I'm going to sign out. Thank you, everyone. If you have not subscribed, what are you waiting for? IntercontinentalSportsTV. This is the One love, people. Bye for now.